The great ship Valor floated silently in the dark space near Earth. It was a beautiful ship. It looked like a jewel made of glass and silver light. It belonged to the Xenorian Stellar Navy. The Xenorians were a very proud race of aliens. They were tall, thin, and had skin that looked like pale marble. They believed they were the smartest beings in the galaxy. Their ships were alive. They were not made of dead metal, they were grown from special crystals. These ships did not break often. They were perfect. Captain Eris stood on the bridge of his ship. He looked out the large window at the gray object ahead. It was a space station. It did not look beautiful. It looked like a big, dirty metal box. It had ugly antennas and scratched paint. This was Dock 42. It belonged to the humans. Captain Eris was not happy. He did not want to be here. The Valor had a small problem with its engine. It was not a big problem, but the rules of the Galactic Accord said he had to stop at the nearest repair station. Because he was close to Earth, he had to go to the human station. They are primitive, Eris said to his second-in-command, Thal. Humans are messy and loud. They use dead metal and dirty oil. They do not understand the spirit of a ship. Thal nodded his head. It is true, Captain. But the law is the law. We must dock. Very well, Eris said. He smoothed his silver uniform. Open a channel. I will speak to their leader. A screen on the wall flickered to life. Eris expected to see a military officer in a clean suit. Instead, he saw a messy room. There were wires hanging from the ceiling. There were coffee cups stacked high on a table. In the middle of the screen sat a man. He was wearing a blue jumpsuit with grease stains on the chest. He had gray hair and a face that looked tired. He was chewing on something. The man looked up. This is Dock 42 Control. You the Xenorian ship? Eris was shocked. The human did not stand up. He did not bow. He did not even look respectful. I am Captain Eris of the Valor, Eris said coldly. We request permission to dock for emergency repairs. Do not touch the spiritual conduits. If your team damages the biocrystal, I will be angry. The man swallowed what he was chewing. Yeah. Don't break the glowy bits. I heard that before. I'm Tom. I run the dock. You can park at Bay 4. And hurry up, my lunch break is in 20 minutes. The screen went black. Eris stared at the black screen. His mouth was open. Did he just hang up on me? He did, Captain, Thal said quietly. Humans are known for being informal. Informal, he is rude. Eris shouted. Fine. Take us in. We will let them fix the small leak, and then we leave. The big ship moved slowly toward the dock. It was a tight fit. The human station was not built for ships as elegant as the Valor. The ship made a loud clang sound as it locked onto the station. Eris felt the ship shake. They are clumsy, Eris complained. They have no grace. A few minutes later, the airlocks opened. A group of humans walked onto the ship. Eris and his guards were there to meet them. The Xenorian guards were tall and held glowing spears. The humans looked very small compared to the aliens. They were carrying heavy toolboxes. They wore thick boots and gloves. In the front was a young man. He looked nervous. He had messy hair and glasses. Next to him was a woman. She was short but looked strong. She had a wrench tucked into her belt. Hello, the young man said. His voice shook a little. I'm Billy. This is Sue. We're the repair team. Sue looked around the ship. She whistled. Wow. It's really shiny in here. Does the light hurt your eyes? Eris looked down at her. Our ship is a masterpiece of bioengineering. The light is the life force of the vessel. Right, life force, Sue said. She did not look impressed. Where's the leak? Tom said. We need to fix the coolant system before the lunch rush. Follow me, Eris said sharply. He led them to the engineering deck. This was the heart of the ship. Usually, it was very quiet. The Xenorian engineers would stand around and meditate. They would use their minds to soothe the ship. But today, it was noisy. Billy and Sue walked loudly. Their boots clanked on the metal floor. Billy opened a panel. He looked inside. Oh, wow. This is weird. Look at this pump, Sue. It's squishy. Don't touch it. Eris yelled. That is a living valve. Billy pulled his hand back. Sorry. But the valve is blocked. That's why you are overheating. I need to bypass it? You cannot just bypass it, Eris said. It must be healed with prayer and song. It takes 3 days. We don't have 3 days, Sue said. She walked over to a large computer screen. Billy, hand me the scanner. Billy gave her a small device. She held it against the wall of the ship. Yeah, the flow is messed up. Captain, if we don't fix this now, you might blow a gasket when you try to leave. That is impossible, Eris said. This ship is perfect. No machine is perfect, Sue said. That's why we have jobs. She started to type on the ship's computer. Her fingers were fast. Eris watched her. She was not chanting. She was not praying. She was just pushing buttons. Hey, Billy said. He was looking at a different screen. Captain, why is your gravity stabilizer vibrating at this frequency? It is the heartbeat of the ship, Eris said proudly. It's annoying, Billy said. He typed a few commands. Suddenly, the low humming sound that filled the room stopped. It became perfectly quiet. Eris froze. What did you do? I fixed it, Billy said. The vibration was slowing you down by 0.5%. I updated the driver. Eris felt dizzy. The Xenorian high priests had studied the humming for centuries. They thought it was a holy sound. But this human boy just stopped it with a few buttons. You improved the holy rhythm, Eris stammered. I just tuned the engine, Billy said. It's simple math. Sue clapped her hands. Okay, I've rerouted the coolant. We need to install a manual filter, though. The biofilter is clogged. I will get a biofilter from the storage, Thal said. No time, Sue said. She reached into her big toolbox and pulled out a dirty metal box. It had rust on it. I'll use this. It's a standard industrial filter. It's not pretty, but it works. She grabbed a heavy wrench. She climbed up a ladder and started to unbolt the shiny, living part of the ship. Eris winced as if he was feeling pain. You are putting earth metal on a crystal ship. Eris cried out. It's titanium, Sue grunted as she turned the wrench. It's strong. It will hold the pressure. She wiped sweat from her forehead. Billy, give me the tape. Billy handed her a roll of silver duct tape. Sue wrapped the tape around the new filter. It looked ugly on the beautiful ship. It looked like a scar on a diamond. There, Sue said, climbing down. Good as new. Eris looked at the patch. It was terrible. It was an insult to his ship. But then, he looked at the monitors. The temperature was dropping. The pressure was stabilizing. The ship was working better than it had in years. This is highly irregular, Eris said. It works, doesn't it? Sue asked, putting her wrench back in her belt. That's all that matters. Eris looked at the humans. They were dirty. They smelled like oil and old coffee. They were not spiritual or elegant. But they had fixed in 10 minutes what the Xenorian priests could not fix in a year. Suddenly, a loud grumble noise echoed through the room. It was very loud. The Xenorian guards raised their spears, thinking it was an attack weapon. Sue laughed. Relax, big guys. That's just Billy's stomach. Billy turned red. Sorry. I skipped breakfast. Eris was confused. Is your biological unit failing? No, Billy said. I'm just hungry. Do you have food on this ship? We have nutrient paste, Eris said. It provides perfect balance. Ugh, paste, Sue said, making a face. We need real food. Come on, Billy. Let's go to the airlock. I think I have some sandwiches in my bag. Wait, Eris said. He did not know why he stopped them, but he did. You fixed the ship. It is our custom to offer hospitality. Even to primitive species. Sue and Billy looked at each other. Hospitality, Billy asked. Does that mean you have a bathroom? Eris sighed. Follow me. He led them to a small room near the bridge. It was the officers' dining hall. It was very clean and white. There were no tables, just small shelves to sit at. Eris ordered the food dispenser to make 2 portions of nutrient paste. 2 gray blocks slid out. Sue looked at the gray block. She poked it. It doesn't smell like anything. Eat it, Eris said. It is efficient. Sue took a small bite. She chewed slowly. Her face did not change. It tastes like wet cardboard. It is not for taste, Eris said. It is for fuel. Billy took a bite and swallowed hard. I think I'm still hungry. Suddenly, Sue reached into her pocket. She pulled out a crumpled brown packet. I forgot I had this. She opened it. It was full of small, spicy-smelling chips. These are jalapeno chips. Want one? Eris looked at the chips. They were bright orange. What is that smell? It burns the nose. It's spicy, Sue said with a smile. It wakes you up. She held out a chip to Captain Eris. He looked at his second in command. Thal looked worried. But Eris was a captain. He was brave. He took the small, orange chip. He put it in his mouth. At first, it was just salty. Then, the heat hit him. It felt like a fire in his mouth. His eyes watered. His throat burned. He gasped. It burns. Eris coughed. Water. Billy yelled. He needs water. Sue laughed hard. Don't drink water. It makes it worse. Eat some bread. Eris fumbled for the nutrient paste. He took a bite of the gray block. The heat slowly faded. He took a deep breath. His heart was beating fast. His face felt warm. Why would you eat that? Eris asked, his voice raspy. Because it's fun, Sue said. Life is boring without a little spice. Eris looked at the orange chip crumbs on his glove. He looked at the ugly patch on the wall. He looked at the tired faces of the humans. They were messy, loud, and painful. But for the first time in many years, Eris felt awake. The ship was quiet. The engine was humming smoothly. And his mouth was still tingling. "You are very strange," Eris said quietly. "We know," Billy smiled. "But we get the job done." The next morning, the work on the ship continued. The Valor was a busy place now. Usually, the ship was silent and peaceful, like a library. But today, it sounded like a factory. Captain Eris could not sleep. The noise from the repair deck echoed through the silver halls. He heard banging, clanking, and loud voices. He got out of his bed and put on his uniform. He needed to see what the humans were doing to his ship. When he reached the lower deck, he saw a strange sight. There were cables running across the floor. Big, yellow cables that looked like snakes. There were boxes with flashing red lights. And there were more humans. There was a tall man named Roy and a younger woman named Lisa. They were arguing near the main thruster. "I am telling you, Roy, the intake manifold is clogged," Lisa said. She was holding a large tablet in her hand. "The readings are all over the place." Roy shook his head. He was drinking from a big cup with steam coming out of it. "No, Lisa. It is not clogged. The alignment is just off. We need to adjust the magnetic field." Eris walked up to them. "What is going on here?" Roy turned around. "Oh, good morning, Captain. Sleep well?" "No," Eris said. "It is too loud. And why are there cables on my floor? The floor is made of crystal. It is sensitive." "We need power," Roy said. "Our tools run on electricity. Your ship, well, your ship runs on whatever this blue stuff is." He pointed to a glowing tube on the wall. "So we brought our own generators." "You are polluting my ship with your dirty energy," Eris complained. Lisa looked at him. "Captain, with all due respect, your ship is clean, but it is weak. The biometal is tired. It needs a boost." Just then, a loud siren filled the room. A red light started flashing above the door. Billy ran into the room. He looked scared. "Guys! We have a problem!" Billy yelled. "The outer hull plating is peeling." Eris felt cold fear. "The plating? That is impossible. The ship heals itself." "Maybe it is sick," Roy said calmly. "Come on, let's go outside." They put on heavy space suits. The human suits were big and bulky. They looked like white balloons. Eris had a sleek suit that fit like a second skin. They went out the airlock and into space. The Valor looked beautiful from the outside, but as they flew closer to the rear engines, Eris saw the problem. Large sheets of the silver skin were peeling away. It looked like the skin of a snake that was shedding. But underneath, the raw structure was exposed to the cold of space. "This is terrible," Eris said over the radio. "The ship is dying. We must go back and perform the ritual of renewal." "That takes 3 weeks, Lisa said. "We don't have 3 weeks. The fleet is moving in 5 days. We cannot fight like this." Eris shouted. "The armor is compromised." Roy floated closer to the peeling metal. He touched it with his thick glove. "See this? The connection layer is brittle. It's like dry glue. It can't hold the skin." "So, what do we do?" Billy asked. "Super glue." "Better," Roy said. "We weld it?" "Weld?" Eris was horrified. "You mean burn metal onto my ship?" "Exactly," Roy said. Lisa, get the arc welder. Billy, grab the titanium plates. They went back inside. A few minutes later, they returned with welding torches. The torches shot out bright blue flames. Eris watched from a distance, hiding behind a shield. He thought the fire would hurt the ship. Lisa started to weld a shiny metal plate over the peeling area. Sparks flew everywhere in the vacuum of space. It looked like a fireworks show. The smell of burnt metal came through Eris's air filter. It was a harsh, ugly smell. But he watched closely. When Lisa finished, she moved to the next spot. She worked fast. She did not stop. She did not pray. She just melted the metal together. In 1 hour, she had covered all the damaged spots with thick, gray plates. The back of the ship now looked strange. Half of it was beautiful silver crystal. The other half was covered in ugly gray patches. It looked like a monster with a scar. It is hideous, Eris said. It is strong, Roy said. Those patches won't peel. They are bolted and welded. They will hold together under pressure. Eris touched one of the patches. It was rough and hot. But it felt solid. It did not move. This is your logic, Eris asked. If something breaks, you just cover it with a harder thing. Pretty much, Roy said. It is not pretty. But you will survive. They went back inside the ship. Eris felt tired. He went to the bridge to check the navigation systems. On the way, he passed the mess hall again. He smelled something good. It was not the chilly smell from yesterday. It smelled like sugar and baking. He looked inside. Billy was sitting at a table with a young Xenorian guard named Thal. Thal was supposed to be on duty, guarding the door. But he was sitting with Billy. On the table, there was a plastic wrapper. What is this? Eris asked. Billy stood up quickly. Captain. I am sorry. We were just talking. Thal looked very nervous. Captain, I was just monitoring the alien. Eris looked at the wrapper. What is that food? It is a donut, Billy said. It is a sweet bread. I gave one to Thal. Eris looked at Thal. Thal had a tiny bit of pink icing on his lip. Did you eat the alien food, Thal? It was soft, Thal said quietly. And very sweet. Sweetness is a waste of calories, Eris said. It provides no energy. It makes you feel good, Billy said. Here, Captain. I saved one for you. Billy held out a small box. Inside was a round piece of bread with chocolate on top. Eris looked at it. It looked dangerous. It was so full of sugar. But he remembered the chip from yesterday. The pain had been interesting. Eris took the donut. He took a small bite. It was soft and fluffy. The chocolate melted in his mouth. It was so sweet that it made his teeth hurt. But a warm feeling spread through his chest. It was a nice feeling. This is not efficient, Eris said, chewing slowly. No, Billy laughed. It is not. But it tastes good. Eris finished the donut. He licked the chocolate off his fingers. He looked at his crew. For hundreds of years, the Xenorians ate only nutrient paste. They were strong, but they were bored. They lived long lives, but they did not enjoy them. Why do you do this? Eris asked Billy. Why do you fix things? Why do you make food that is just for fun? Billy looked down at his hands. Because we are small, Captain. We don't live as long as you. We aren't as strong physically. If we don't fix things, we die. If we don't enjoy our food, we get sad. We have to make life worth living. We pour our heart into everything. When we cook with love. When we fix a ship, we treat it like a friend. A friend. Eris looked at the wall. It is a machine. It's a home, Billy said. And a shield. And a tool. Eris walked out of the mess hall. He went back to the engine room. Sue was there. She was polishing the ugly titanium patch she had welded earlier. She was talking to the ship. "There you go, baby," she whispered. "Nice and strong. Don't you worry about the asteroids. I got you." Eris watched her. She was talking to the metal as if it could hear her. The Xenorians talked to their ships too, but they used ancient words. They talked about destiny and stars. Sue was talking about protection and strength. "You are talking to it," Eris said. Sue jumped. "Oh, hey Captain." "Yeah, I talk to engines. Helps them run better." "It cannot hear you," Eris said. "It is not sentient like our psychic core." "Maybe," Sue said. "But metal remembers. If you treat it right, it treats you right." She tapped the patch. "This metal here has my fingerprint on it. Part of me is in your ship now." Eris looked at the patch. He thought about the donut. He thought about the chip. He thought about the noisy repairs. The Xenorians wanted perfection. They wanted a ship that was pure and clean. But perfection was fragile. When it broke, they did not know what to do. They just prayed. The humans were messy. They were loud. They were imperfect. But they were strong. They used metal to fix crystal. They used food to fix the soul. They put a piece of themselves into everything they did. "Captain," Roy's voice came over the intercom. "We finished the structural repairs. We are moving to the weapons systems next." Eris looked at the ceiling. "Weapons, my weapons are fine. The targeting computer is slow," Roy said. "I can make it faster. It is a sacred algorithm." Eris yelled. "It is just math, Captain," Roy said calmly. "Let me tweak it." Eris sighed. "Do what you must. But do not break anything." "No promises," Roy laughed. Eris stood in the middle of the engine room. It was noisy. It smelled like oil and donuts. It was ugly. But for the first time, the Valor felt like it could handle a fight. It wasn't just a pretty jewel anymore. It was a beast with armor. Eris smiled a very small smile. "All right, humans," he said to himself. "Show me what you got." The third day of repairs began with a sound that Captain Eris had never heard on his ship before. It was a heavy, rhythmic beat. Thump thump. Thump thump. It was coming from the cargo bay, which the humans had turned into their workshop. Eris walked down the corridor, his silver boots clicking on the floor. He felt the vibrations in his teeth. It was very annoying, but he found himself tapping his foot to the rhythm. When he entered the bay, he saw Billy and Lisa working. They were moving heavy equipment, but they were not just walking. They were bouncing. "What is this noise?" Eris asked, shouting over the music. Billy looked up. He was wearing headphones around his neck. "It's rock and roll, Captain. It helps us work faster." "Rock and roll," Eris repeated. "It sounds like a structure collapsing." Lisa laughed. "It has energy. It keeps you awake." She held up a small device. "Captain, we need to talk to the pilot." The pilot is me, Eris said. No, the autopilot, Lisa said. The ship's computer. Eris led them to the bridge. The bridge of the Valor was the most sacred place on the ship. It was usually silent, filled only with the soft hum of the psychic core. The human music echoed loudly in the big room. Eris winced. Thal, his second in command, looked like he had a headache. Please turn the noise down, Eris said. Billy reached out and touched a panel on the wall. Hey, Siri, computer. Play playlist chill vibes only. The thumping music stopped, and a softer, guitar-based music started. It was still loud, but it was nicer. Lisa went to the main pilot console. She sat in the captain's chair. Eris gasped. Get out of my chair. Eris said. Sorry, just need to calibrate the sensors, Lisa said. She started typing on the holographic keyboard. Her fingers moved so fast they were a blur. Your sensors are set to high sensitivity. That means they detect every dust particle in space. It creates too much data for the pilot. It helps us see everything, Eris argued. It blinds you to the big things, Lisa said. Look. She pressed a button. The star map on the main screen changed. It went from a chaotic mess of red dots to a clean, clear view of the sector. I filtered out the junk. Now you can see the asteroids and enemy ships clearly. Eris stared at the screen. It was better. He felt a little stupid. He had been looking at the messy screen for years, thinking it was perfect. You just improved my tactical display, Eris asked. Just a software patch, Lisa said. We humans love optimizing. If we can make a machine run 10% faster, we do it. Eris walked to the window. He looked out at the stars. You are very competitive, aren't you? We have to be, Billy said. Earth is a tough place. The weather tries to kill us, the animals try to eat us, and sometimes we try to kill each other. We learned a long time ago that if you want to survive, you have to be better than yesterday. We Xenorians do not have such struggles, Eris said proudly. We live in harmony. Until someone shoots at you, Sue said. She had just walked onto the bridge carrying a large box. Captain, I brought the upgrade for the shields. Eris looked at the box suspiciously. What is in there? Capacitors, Sue said. Big ones. Your shield generator is cool, but it recharges too slowly. I'm going to hook these up in parallel. It won't make the shield stronger, but it will recharge instantly after a hit. Eris thought about this. In battle, the Xenorian ships had to wait between hits to recharge their shields. That was when they were vulnerable. If this human could fix that. Do it, Eris said. The day continued with more strange modifications. The humans added manual levers next to the touch screens. They covered the smooth floors with rough, grippy tape so people wouldn't slip. They even added extra handrails in the hallways. Your ship is slippery when the gravity fails, Roy explained. Handrails save lives. By the afternoon, the Valor was changed. It still looked beautiful on the outside, but inside, it was a mix of alien grace and human grit. It looked like a palace that had been turned into a factory. Eris went to the mess hall again. He was hungry. He wanted more donuts. But when he walked in, he saw that the humans were not eating. They were cooking. The mess hall was crowded. Xenorian crew members were standing around, watching. The humans had brought portable stoves and pots. There was a big pot on a table, bubbling with red sauce. It smelled amazing. It smelled like tomatoes, garlic, and meat. Tom, the old leader of the humans, was stirring the pot. He was wearing a white apron that said "Kiss the Cook." "What is this?" Eris asked. "Spaghetti bolognese," Tom said. "We figured since we fixed your ship, we should feed your crew properly. Come on, grab a plate." A line had formed. The Xenorians were confused. They did not know how to use a plate or a fork. Sue was showing them how to twirl the pasta on the fork. "Like this," Sue said to a tall guard. "Don't slurp it." Eris took a plate. He sat down next to Thal. Thal was eating happily. He had sauce on his chin. "It is hot," Thal said. "And it has texture." "It is called pasta," Eris said. He took a bite. The sauce was rich and savory. The pasta was soft. It was warm and filling. He felt the heat spread through his body. It was not just fuel. It was comfort. He watched the room. Usually, the Xenorians ate in silence. They would stare at their nutrient paste and think about their duties. But today, they were talking. They were laughing. A young engineer was telling a joke to Lisa. Billy was teaching a navigator how to make a paper airplane. The atmosphere on the ship had changed. The cold, hard silence was gone. It was replaced by a warm, noisy mess. Eris realized that the humans were not just fixing the metal of the ship. They were fixing the people inside it. They were bringing a spark of life to a dead place. "This is dangerous," Eris whispered to himself. "What is?" Tom asked. He had sat down across from Eris with his own plate of food. "This feeling," Eris said. "My crew is distracted. They are happy. In battle, emotion can be a weakness." Tom shook his head. "No, Captain. Emotion is a weapon. You fight harder for the things you love. You fight harder for your friends. If your crew is happy, they will fight to the death to protect each other. If they are just obedient, they will run when things get hard." Eris looked at Tom. The old man had wrinkles around his eyes. He looked tired, but his eyes were bright. "Why do you care?" Eris asked. "We are aliens. You are just hired help." "Maybe," Tom said. "But I'm a mechanic. When I fix something, I take pride in it. This ship is my work now. Your crew are the people who have to fly in my work. I want them to be safe." He smiled. "Besides, you guys aren't so bad once you stop acting like statues." Suddenly, the ship shook. It was a small tremor. "What was that?" Eris stood up. "Gravity wave," Billy said, looking at his tablet. "Just a ripple from the sun. It's passing." Before Eris could give an order, the lights flickered. The ship groaned. The Valor was reacting to the gravity wave. The psychic core was sensing a disturbance. Usually, the ship would panic and the alarms would blare. But then, Eris heard a hum. It was not the psychic scream. It was the new engines. The human patch kicked in. The extra capacitors hummed. The stabilizers that Billy had adjusted compensated for the wave instantly. The ship stopped shaking. The lights stayed on. The red sauce in the pot didn't even spill. "See," Tom said, twirling some pasta on his fork. "Nice and steady." Eris sat back down slowly. The humans had anticipated the problem before it happened. They had built safeguards that didn't rely on the ship's mood. They relied on physics. "You prepare for everything," Eris said. "We try," Tom said. Because the universe hates us. It throws rocks and radiation at us. We just learned how to duck. Eris looked around the room again. He saw Sue laughing with the guard. He saw Lisa showing the navigator a faster route. He saw the empty donut boxes. He realized something important. The Xenorians were powerful because they were perfect. But humans were powerful because they were stubborn. They refused to die. They refused to break. When the universe hit them, they hit back with a wrench and a smile. Captain Eris, the ship's computer spoke. It was a synthesized voice. The humans are requesting to watch a movie in the cargo bay tonight. They call it Star Wars. Do I grant permission? Eris looked at Tom. Tom raised an eyebrow. Grant permission, Eris said. But tell them to keep the volume down. Tom grinned. You're welcome to join us, Captain. We have popcorn. I do not eat corn that pops, Eris said. You might like it, Tom said. It's salty and buttery. Just like life. Eris finished his spaghetti. He wiped his mouth with a napkin. He felt full, not just of food, but of something else. Energy. Hope. He looked at his hands. They were pale and smooth. He looked at Tom's hands. They were rough and scarred. One day, Eris said. I want to hear the story of how you got those scars. Tom laughed. That's a long story, Captain. Pass the Parmesan cheese. Eris picked up the cheese shaker. He handed it to the human. He did not know why, but he felt like they were going to be friends. The fourth day began like any other day on the ship Valor, but it ended in a way no one would ever forget. The repairs were almost finished. The humans were tired. They had grease on their faces and their hands were shaking from using heavy tools all night. Even Roy, who was always calm, was yawning as he checked the main engine readings. We are done, Roy said to Captain Eris. The engines are running at 110% efficiency. The shields are charging fast. The hull is solid. You are good to go. Excellent, Eris said. He felt proud. His ship looked like a patchwork quilt of silver and gray metal, but it felt stronger than ever. Prepare to undock. Eris stood on the bridge, the crew was at their stations. The humans were gathering their bags, ready to leave the ship and go back to their space station. Eris felt a small pang of sadness. He had gotten used to the noise and the smell of coffee. Then, it happened. The sun near the station suddenly erupted. It was a massive solar flare. It was a storm of radiation and magnetism that moved faster than light. The alarms on the bridge screamed. Warning! Magnetic spike detected. The ship's computer shouted. Radiation levels critical. Shields up! Eris yelled. But it was too late. The magnetic pulse hit the Valor like a giant hammer. The ship shuddered violently. Eris fell to the floor. Lights exploded, showering the bridge in sparks. The holographic screens flickered and died. The core. Thal screamed. The Psi core is in shock. It is rejecting the energy. The bioengineered heart of the ship could not handle the sudden violent magnetism. The living metal of the ship began to panic. The walls groaned. The floor warped. Usually, the Xenorian pilots would use their minds to calm the ship down. They would project waves of peace and love. But this attack was too strong. The ship was having a seizure. The psychic feedback was hitting the Xenorian crew, knocking them out. My head! Thal cried, collapsing to his knees. I cannot connect. The ship began to spin out of control. The gravity generators failed. Eris floated in the air, helpless. The radiation shields were down. In 10 minutes, the solar flare would burn them all to dust. The Valor was dying, and it was taking the crew with it. "Get out!" A voice boomed over the intercom. It was Tom. "Get out of the engine room now!" Tom roared. "Humans, move. Billy, grab the fire extinguisher. Sue, we need to cut the power." Eris struggled to pull himself to a console. "Tom. The ship is in psychic shock. We must soothe it." "Forget that." Tom yelled back. "It is just a feedback loop. We have to kill the power to the brain or the body dies." Eris watched on the security monitor. He saw the humans running toward the engine room. They did not have helmets or special suits. They were just wearing their dirty jumpsuits. The Xenorian crew was fleeing in terror, holding their heads. The humans ran into the fire. In the engine room, chaos ruled. Steam was shooting out of pipes. The blue lights of the Psychor were flashing red and white. It looked like a strobe light. The heat was intense. Billy ran to a large panel on the wall. He pulled out a crowbar. "The regulator is fused. I can't turn it." "Use the cutter." Sue shouted over the noise of the screaming metal. She was holding onto a railing to keep from flying away as the ship spun. Tom floated into the center of the room. He looked at the glowing core. It was pulsing violently. Thump thump thump. "It's afraid," Billy said, looking scared. "I can feel it vibrating. It thinks it's dying." "Don't think about feelings." Tom barked. "Look at the gauges, the pressure is too high. We have to bleed it off." Tom grabbed a large manual wheel on the floor. It was red and hot. "Sue, help me with this." Sue pushed off the wall and flew to Tom. Together, they grabbed the wheel. It was stuck. The ship's safety locks were engaged. "It won't move." Sue grunted. Her muscles strained. "Then push harder." Tom yelled. "Billy, hit the emergency vent." Billy raised a heavy sledgehammer. He swung it with all his might. Clang. He hit the vent valve. Nothing happened. He hit it again. Clang. This time, the valve bent. On the bridge, Eris watched in horror. "They are destroying the ship. They are saving it," Roy said from the airlock. He had stayed behind for a moment. "Captain, your ship is too smart for its own good. It is overthinking the danger. The humans are going to make it stupid so it can survive." "Stupid?" Eris asked. "Yes," Roy said. "Sometimes, you have to stop thinking and just survive." In the engine room, Tom and Sue were still wrestling with the wheel. Their hands were bleeding. The metal edges were sharp. Their faces were red from the heat. But they did not stop. "On 3. Tom screamed. 1. 2. 3. They both pulled with every ounce of strength they had. The metal screeched. Slowly, the wheel turned. A hissing sound filled the room. The excess pressure began to escape. "Cut the neural link," Tom shouted to Billy. Billy ran to the main computer bank. He saw a thick bundle of cables glowing with blue light. This was the nervous system of the ship. "I have to cut the blue wire," Billy asked. "No. Cut them all," Sue yelled. "Separate the brain from the engine." Billy took a pair of heavy cutters. He hesitated for a second. It felt like surgery. Then he squeezed the handle. Snap! The blue lights went out. Snap! The humming stopped. Suddenly, the violent shaking of the ship stopped. The flashing red lights turned to a dim yellow. The ship went dark and quiet. The screaming in the Xenarians' heads vanished instantly. The panic was gone. Eris floated to his feet. Report. Status. Life support is on battery, Thal said, gasping for air. The main core is offline. But the radiation flare is passing. In the engine room, the three humans floated in the darkness. They were covered in sweat and soot. They were bruised and bleeding. But they were smiling. Did we do it? Billy asked quietly. Sue wiped blood from her hand. We did it, kid. We saved the beast. Tom pushed himself toward a wall and tapped a button. The emergency lights came on. They looked at the engine. It was dark and silent. It looked dead. But the hull was holding. The radiation shields were coming back online. We broke the connection, Tom said. The ship is flying on manual controls now. Just metal and physics. No magic. Eris and a team of guards ran into the engine room a few minutes later. Eris looked at the mess. Wires were cut. Pipes were bent. The beautiful blue core was dark. You destroyed the psi core, Eris whispered. The heart of the ship is silent. It's not silent, Tom said, breathing heavily. It's resting. It was having a panic attack, Captain. We had to put it to sleep so the body didn't give out. Eris looked at the humans. They were sitting on the floor, exhausted. They were small, soft creatures. They had no psychic powers. They could not talk to the ship with their minds. But they had walked into a burning room and wrestled a giant machine into submission with their bare hands. Thal, Eris said. Status of the crew. No casualties, Thal said, looking at the humans with amazement. If the shock had continued, we would all be dead. The humans stopped it? Eris walked over to Tom. The old man was closing his eyes, leaning his head back against the wall. You are bleeding, Eris said. Just a scratch, Tom said. Occupational hazard. Eris looked at the other humans. Sue was wrapping a bandage around Billy's hand. They were taking care of each other. They didn't care about the grand ship or the alien technology. They only cared that everyone was okay. Why? Eris asked. Why risk your lives for a ship that is not yours? Tom opened one eye. We don't leave a job unfinished, Captain. And we don't leave friends behind. Friends? Eris asked. We are aliens. Doesn't matter, Sue said. We are all stuck in this metal box together. That makes us a crew. Eris felt a strange feeling in his chest. It was respect. True, deep respect. He realized that the Xenarians were weak because they relied too much on their perfection. They relied on the ship loving them. But the humans were strong because they loved the ship enough to hurt it to save it. They were willing to get dirty. They were willing to bleed. Get them medical attention, Eris ordered his guards. Treat them as honored guests. Captain Thal asked, surprised. Honored guests? Yes, Eris said. They have earned it. As the guards helped the humans up, Eris touched the dark engine. It was cold. But under the cold metal, he felt a steady vibration. It was the backup generator, humming away. It was a mechanical sound. A simple sound. It was the sound of survival. And for the first time, Eris thought that sound was more beautiful than any psychic song. The morning after the solar flare was quiet. The emergency lights were gone, and the normal power was back on. The ship Valor was no longer spinning out of control. It was still drifting near the space station, but it was safe. Captain Eris stood on the bridge, looking out at the stars. The sun was calm now, shining brightly in the distance. The repairs were finished. The humans had worked through the night to fix the damage the flare had caused. They bypassed the broken Psy-core completely. The ship was now running on the manual systems they had installed. It was not the perfect bioship it used to be. It was something different. It was a hybrid of alien biology and human machinery. The engines are online, Thal reported. The human Billy says we can jump to light speed whenever we are ready. Eris nodded. Excellent. Prepare the airlock. The humans are leaving. Eris walked down to the cargo bay to say goodbye. The humans were packing their tools. They looked tired. Their eyes were red from lack of sleep, and their clothes were dirty. But they were smiling. They were joking with each other as they threw wrenches into their bags. Roy, the tall leader, saw Eris enter. Good morning, Captain. Or is it afternoon? I lost track of time. It is morning, Eris said. We are ready to depart. Roy wiped his hands on a rag. She's a good ship now. She won't give you any trouble. Thank you, Eris said. For my life. And for my crew. Roy shrugged. Just doing the job. Eris looked at the group. Sue was putting a bandage on Billy's hand. Lisa was checking her tablet one last time. Tom, the old man, was drinking a cup of coffee. You are strange beings, Eris said. You are messy. You are loud. You eat food that burns your mouth. But you have something we Xenorians lost a long time ago. What is that? Tom asked. The will to fight, Eris said. We Xenorians rely on our perfection. We rely on our technology. When things go wrong, we are lost because we do not know how to struggle. You humans struggle every day. You are used to things breaking. You are used to pain. That makes you strong. We just call it being stubborn, Sue laughed. Eris reached into his pocket. He took out a small silver chip. It was a Xenorian memory chip. This contains the maps of the Outer Rim. It is safe passage through Xenorian space. I want you to have it. Roy looked surprised. Captain, this is valuable. You saved the Valor, Eris said. It is a fair trade. Tom took the chip. He looked at it, then at Eris. Thanks, Captain. Maybe one day we'll visit. If you do, Eris said, bring more of those donuts. The humans laughed. They picked up their heavy bags and walked toward the airlock. Eris watched them go. He felt a strange sadness. The ship would be quiet again. There would be no rock music. No smell of spicy food. No loud laughter. It would be peaceful and perfect again. But as the airlock closed, Eris realized he didn't want peace anymore. He wanted the noise. He missed the energy. Captain, Thal's voice came over the intercom. The humans sent a message to the main computer. They left a playlist called Driving Music. Do you want me to delete it? Eris paused. He looked at the silent metal walls of the ship. He remembered the donut. He remembered the chip. He remembered the way Sue had fought the fire. No, Eris said. Play it. Loud, energetic guitar music filled the bridge. The Xenorian crew members looked at each other in surprise. But then, Thal did something unexpected. He tapped his foot on the floor. A small smile appeared on his face. "Set course for home," Eris ordered. "Engage." The Valor moved away from the station. It turned toward the stars. As the engines roared to life, Eris felt the ship move. It didn't feel like a gentle glide anymore. It felt powerful. The human engines pushed the ship forward with a force that pressed Eris back into his seat. The ship was faster now. It was tougher. The ugly gray patches on the hull didn't look bad anymore. They looked like medals. They were scars of survival. As the stars stretched into lines of light, Eris looked at the screen. The Valor was leaving the Sol system. They were going back to the fleet. He knew the other captains would laugh at his ship. They would mock the manual gears and the rough welds. They would say he had let humans ruin a masterpiece. Let them laugh, Eris thought. He knew the truth. The Xenorian fleet was beautiful, but it was fragile. They were like statues in a garden. But the humans, they were like weeds. They grew anywhere. They survived anything. You could stomp on them, burn them, and try to kill them, but they would just grow back stronger. And now, his ship had a little bit of that weed inside it. It had a human heart. "Thal," Eris said. "What is the status of the coolant system?" "It is holding steady," Thal said. "But the gauge is shaking a little bit." "Let it shake," Eris said softly. "Let it shake." Deep in the engine room, the manual pumps hummed a steady rhythm. Thump thump. Thump thump. It was not the silent song of the ancestors. It was the heartbeat of a machine that had been through hell and survived. It was a human sound. Eris closed his eyes and listened to the hum. He thought about the future. He thought about the wars that were coming. The galaxy was a dangerous place. There were enemies out there who wanted to destroy the Xenorian Empire. In the past, Eris would have been worried. He would have wondered if his perfect ship would hold up. But not today. He looked at the patched metal and the blinking human lights on the console. He smiled. If the enemies came, they would be in for a surprise. They would see a beautiful Xenorian ship. They would expect an easy fight. They would expect perfection. But instead, they would find a beast. A beast with claws of titanium and a soul of fire. They would find a ship that didn't know how to give up, because a group of dirty, noisy, wonderful humans had shown it how to fight. "Full speed," Eris commanded. The Valor leaped forward, faster than any ship in the fleet. It carried the spirit of Earth within its walls. And that, Captain Eris knew, was the greatest power in the universe. It wasn't about being perfect. It was about being alive. And thanks to the humans, the Valor was more alive than it had ever been before.